Greetings. This is Stasia Bliss. Welcome back to my channel. Today is a full moon on the day that I'm recording this. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about that, but I am going to utilize the energy for the conversation to talk about the solar and lunar forces in the body, which are important for the rising of Kundalini and the awakening of the divine soul. So let's have a conversation about Kundalini. And I want to talk about especially the three gunas. And if you aren't familiar, we are all made up of the three gunas, as they're called, or elements of Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva. And I've spoken about this a little bit in some of my other videos. Tamas and Sattva are two sides of the coin. So you can say they're the positive and negative charge. Tamas is the negative, Sattva is the positive, and the Rajas is like the flipping of the coin or the action of change. That's one way of looking at it. You could also look at it as slightly different. Tamas being the negative, and Sattva being the neutral, and Rajas being the positive momentum. So you can look at them in these three ways. I have some articles about these three things on Basmati.com if you want to go there. I'll put a link down below and read more specifically. Tamas is, and I've spoke about this in other videos, the inertia or the downward flowing energy, the denseness. And in the context of Kundalini and awakening, it is the poison in the nectar, if you will. So the nectar and the poison are two sides. It is actually our throat chakra, the Vishuddhi, that is responsible for transmuting poison into nectar. So maybe you've heard of the idea that the pineal gland secretes an amrita or a nectar that drips down the back of the throat that the yogi can drink or partake of. This is both like true, actual. We aren't going to go into that part, but it's also metaphorical for the idea that the pineal gland is the third eye and the substance is enlightenment or awareness. And we must utilize that nectar, that amrita of awareness, to transmute the poisons and anything we might take into the world, and we take it in via speech or speaking or taking in another speech or food, anything we consume. It is our consciousness, it is the Shiva aspect, as we say in Tantra, that is consciousness that is able to perceive where the poison is. So there's a little story in the Vedas in Hinduism about the creation of the world, and this idea that it was being churned, and the milk was being churned to make the world, and the asuras, the demons, and also the gods and goddesses were present. And as this is being churned, there is a poison that is comes from this process, and it is given trying to make the asuras not part of this world, but it is also given to both sides. So Shiva, being lord of the world in the story, consumes the nectar on behalf of the others and transmutes it. I'm getting a few of the details off, but the story goes such that his throat is often depicted blue, or his whole body blue, in many of the images you might see of a manifestation of Shiva consciousness, and that is the color of a peacock, and peacocks can eat poison and not die. So this is also the story of the blue throat, which is Vishuddhi chakra, also depicted as blue, that consuming the poison is not a problem for Shiva consciousness, and Shiva consciousness is able to extract the nectar from it, Shakti, the life force energy. And so in our journey, we must learn to extract the Amrita, the blessing, the nectar out of our experiences, lest the metabolic waste of swallowing the poisons in our food, our music, our relationships, our speech, or what we're talking about, breaks us down and we decay. We succumb to tamas, right? So tamas would eventually lead to decay and death, where sattva is the purification process, the also the preserving element, Vishnu consciousness. And rajas is the ability to extract the poison from the experience or from the food. It is the blessing, and it comes through consciousness itself, Shiva. We're coming up on Mahashivatri in a few weeks here. I'll be doing a Mahashivatri celebration at the yoga studio where I teach here in Utah at Breathe Studio, where it is the night of Shiva, so it's the night of consciousness, where the Mahamritunjaya mantra is chanted 108 times. We'll be doing that. And generally, Havan, or a fire ceremony, is part of that. I don't know if we'll be able to do fire inside the studio, but I'll see what I can do instead of or in lieu of. The Mahamritunjaya mantra is considered a great mantra of Lord Shiva, or Shiva consciousness, higher mind, to transmute and overcome. It's called the destroyer of death. And so death would be considered the poison getting the best of you, right? If you are poisoned and you eventually die, that is what this mantra is a medicine for, counteracting, a purification force up. And so when this is chanted using, of course, the throat chakra, and I'll chant it for you in a moment, that is helping to change the poisons to nectar, change them to the amrita, so that you are experiencing a healing. And that's why it's one of the greatest healing mantras ever to be chanted, and has been chanted millions and millions of times by rishis and sages and pandits and priests and practitioners all over the world, and many traditions, Buddhist, Tantra, Tibetan Tantra, Indian, and in Sanskrit, for millennia. And so there is like a strength and a power behind it. Something that I learned at yoga school in India at Bihar Yoga Bharati, and we performed this Mahamritunjaya ceremony every Saturday. We would gather with hundreds of people, and often from the village, and do this ceremony. And always we would bring the names of people in our lives that we wanted to offer this healing to. Could be even the self. So as I chant in a moment, and I'm not going to do 108 here, though you can find a video on, I'll post it on my channel. I know I had it on my app, but the Mahamritunjaya, you can also just search it on YouTube, and you can find a lot of renditions of it that are nice because there's music behind it and so forth. But the translation of it is basically, calling on the three-eyed reality, which is speaking to Sattva, Tamas, and Rajas, which are also representative of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva consciousness. So the creator, the preserver, and the destroyer elements within each one of us and in the universe. So again, creative is Rajas, preserving is Sattva, and destroying is Tamas. This is in all of us. We have all of these in each one of us. And this is also what's going on in our body all the time, is preserving and also breaking things down, right? We're constantly shedding in our body or in our mind. And also we are creating, we are producing new cells. We are feeding the cells that we have. We are having Tamas, Rajas, and Sattva constantly performing in our system, and we are accessing the nectar, the Shakti, the life force, the prana, chi. In the runic tradition, it's called owned. This is your life force energy, your Kundalini, which is the divine creative energy of the universe. Shakti is Ma. And so when we access this, we live, we create anew, we sustain our existence, we perpetuate life, we are reborn again. This is the transmutive fires of life force, and what this wood dragon year is really asking us to embody this energy, and really loving feeling how this energy is manifesting in the world. And we are, it's nice to put on the lens of the Tamas, Sattva, and Raja elements and look in the world and see how you can see them and recognize, like, we couldn't just have, some people want to just live in Sattva all the time. That's just like the Om and like completely in the bliss. But that's not the human experience. That's not Earth. That might be a different realm. That's not what we came here to experience, and that's not what we're experiencing here. And those of us who are here, on some level, I believe we chose to come and experience this and to alchemize these elements, to find out how they work together in us so that we can experience our full divine expression while in these forms. So that is the practice of Kundalini Yoga. That is Tantra, the ability to know and apply these principles to liberate the mind from its lower stratosphere, if you will, and express our most divine expression. So on this full moon, which I spoke about in the last video, is a little challenging because of the aspecting that's here and so much in the Piscean and Aquarian categories, but that's also really beneficial to our spiritual growth and to the ascension of humanity, that we learn to communicate this mercurial energy that's in Pisces really wants to transmute into the nectar. Pisces is the spiritual. It is the nectar of the divine wanting to run down into our life. And Neptune and Saturn are here. Saturn wants to know how, and Neptune sees and holds the dream, right, of humanity. So I'm going to chant this mantra, and then we can close it. I'll put the words down below. It goes, Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityor Mukshi Amamritat. I'll do it 3 times. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityor Mukshi Amamritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityor Mukshi Amamritat. So that last word, Amamritat, Amrita, Amrit, that's the nectar. So this chant is invoking this ability to transform the poisons in our body to nectar. And we're calling on this 3-eyed reality, these 3 elements that we see in all the spiritual traditions as the Trinity, or as the Father, Mother, Son, or the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Another word for that, this triangulation of energy creates the portal alchemically for the transmutation process. So we are chanting Om Trayambakam, the three gunas. The Shivites have 3 lines across the forehead that is signifying these 3 elements and working with them in the body. And they're mirrored in a lot of our traditions, even in astrology, with the cardinal, mutable, and fixed qualities that we see in the charts. So anyway, that's all. I don't want to make this video too long today, but I'm encouraging you to maybe listen to that mantra, find a rendition on YouTube that you like, use it in your practice through this full moon, and start perceiving the nectar present in all of your experiences, even the challenging ones in the world. That's a very yogic, tantric way of doing shadow work, to see that where the nectar, how we can transform. This looks like poison, but how is it nectar to me? This experience seems toxic. What is the nectar? What is the amrita of this experience that I am able to receive and take in? And if I don't, I'm contributing to my own decay. Just a challenge for you. The mantra also speaks of transmuting the death and experiencing an immortal spirit. And that is, I believe, what we're here to do, to really live into our fullest expression. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time, and namaste.